I don't know about any of you, but House of the Dragon has sold me. I'm not sold enough to go back and watch Game of Thrones, but if this keeps up, they might even get me to give that a try. Oh yeah, this is House of the Dragon Episode 4 review, by the way. It's a day late because I was working on another video and lost track of what day it was until it was too late to watch House of the Dragon this Sunday. That video will probably be out in a day or so. For now, let's get to the absolutely enthralling show that House of the Dragon has grown into. Once again, this will be spoiler-free. It's going to be a short one because there isn't much to discuss without spoilers, and most of the drama in the episode was interpersonal, rather than things that move the story along. Going back to my first review of this series, I think I officially owe Millie Alcock an apology. The wooden, affectless performance of the first episode went through some growing until I am now surprisingly sad in the knowledge that she will be gone after the next episode, as the preview and timeline suggests. From what I have seen of Emma Darcy, she will probably not be able to fill Millie's shoes. But then I was not sure Millie would grow into those shoes, so we will see. As I mentioned last week, and it continues to be true, Warner Brothers have managed to create a series leagues and leagues better than the competition Amazon have managed with a $1 billion budget. Nowhere is that shown better than in the costumes. If you have been watching Rings of Power, you probably noticed it as well, especially in the armor. Sir Colston Cole's armor in this episode looks about as authentic as you can manage without raiding a museum or inventing time travel. The Númenórean armor, on the other hand, looked like complete garbage in the last episode of Rings. It looked little better than cardboard or papier-mâché made up for some cheap medieval reenactment at your local park put on by some Dungeons & Dragons group. Actually, that's an insult to Dungeons & Dragons groups. Fans and cosplayers would not be seen dead in the crap Amazon has draped on their actors for an international streaming audience in an attempt to lure subscribers to their service. And yes, I will probably keep dumping on Rings of Power at every opportunity. It is an abortion of an adaptation of a great artist. With that out of the way, we have come to my weekly Matt Smith fan club meeting. And damn if he did not get even better this week with more screen time and lines. His chemistry with Millie Alcock was amazing, raising her up to his level with ease. His scenes with Paddy Considine were also superb. Considine is still keeping up his end of the performance, and his scenes with Millie Alcock were also great. Emily Carey, on the other hand, has continued her slide in this episode. Though her scenes with Millie Alcock show there is an actress in there, she just can't seem to summon it with anyone else on screen anymore. I can see what she and the director are going for, but they're not hitting the mark. She has been slowly sliding into the affectless plank of wood they had Millie Alcock at in the first episode. Only when Queen Alicent is alone with Princess Rhaenyra does the chemistry seem to blossom. Rhys Ifans continued his weasel impersonation in this episode, but runs into trouble with his scheming this week. I think if Rhaenyra had taken her role as heir seriously, and Viserys had allowed her to take her role as heir seriously, this story might have gone much more differently than it has. But then again, I think that's the point. I also think if we were to go back about 10 years before the series started and Viserys had leaned on Daemon, it would also have gone better. Viserys has fallen into that trap all too common in history where weak men not suited to the throne realize too late it is so and rely on those who probably should have been run off in favor of men said weak king trusted absolutely. This episode gives glimpses of what might have been had King Viserys had his eyes opened a little sooner by someone unafraid of powerful men. Say someone like Daemon. For those of you who watched Game of Thrones or read the books, this next thing might be a mild spoiler. For everyone else, you won't know what I'm talking about unless you watch this week's episode. Let's just leave it at that it got a little Targaryen in this episode. It was an interesting glimpse into the city outside of the keep walls and opened some eyes that probably needed opening sooner, if perhaps not in the way it went down. Especially the way the series started for certain characters. I will wrap things up with a slight criticism, one that was missing last week. A hint of the message crept back into this episode. It was brief, but in the context of the story at the beginning of the show, it was somewhat important in how they have slightly warped Rhaenyra. Matt Smith's Damon might have straightened it out a little. We will have to wait and see. It was not as annoying as it was in the first and second episodes, and the writers might actually have managed to thread it through the story rather than the ham-handed way Rings of Power seems to stop the show just to insert the message. Amazon's way is clunky and adds to the annoyance that is the writing and dialogue with Rings, whereas Warner Brothers' way manages not to stop the bloody flow too much as they slip it in. It is still irritating to notice it, but does not knock you out of the immersion long enough to spoil the enjoyment of the story. Well, this is where I will wrap up this video. I will have another in a day or so, so keep a lookout for that one. If you like what I do here, please hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below to help me with the algorithm. My social media and Patreon links will be in the description, and I will see you in the next video.